Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. This is the Tesla Roadster version. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning and welcome. We're changing things up a little bit for our Instagram posts, people again, doing the original tech that we had for several months, and they can only see the green screen. They can't see this beautiful chrome-plated Roadster in the background.
Exactly. And what we're doing today is we're going to do this a little bit less formal. Usually these are scripted. We've got news items, and although we have news items for you, we're going to do this more as a spitballing session,
right?
Expressing opinions, listening to our audience, which is growing all the time. But before we get too far, what I wanted to do was show you something and give you a brief history as to our trajectory in the social media effort. We have been doing this since 2020, and it was originally my son Max and I that started doing social media. He's been a videographer ever since he was a kid, actually. He used to sit there literally at home. I'm telling you, he was like 10, 11 years old, and he would take little Lego men with a digital camera and take still pictures as they were, as he was changing their position, and then do these videos.
Yeah, stop motion.
Stop motion. That's the word I'm groping for, yes. And I looked at him often. I said, look, the other kids are outside playing, stickball or whatever, riding their bikes, and you're in here focused on these videos hours at a time, and then editing them and stitching them together. I knew there was a seed there. There was something there that was going to manifest later on in his life. That was Maximilian, by the way, the youngest one. And anyway, he did go into photography, videography, and he was our first social media person. And he kept trying to convince me, you guys have to be on social media, got to be on YouTube, got to be on TikTok, got to be on Twitter, got to be on Instagram, And finally I listened, and we eventually got to like 300 subscribers on YouTube. And we thought, wow, this is pretty impressive. 300 people like what we're creating, And then we decided to go the next step. We needed a web designer. We hired Jesse, who eventually became our digital manager. And then the subscribers began to grow. And we realized that if you provide good, high-quality content, which we certainly have in Gruber Motor Company for Tesla Roadsters, because that's what we work on all day long, every day, people will flock. People are interested in that. And we reached a major milestone this week. We got something from YouTube, and I wanted to share that with you. Came in a box like this, and we were all expecting it, of course, but it did say YouTube on it, so it was pretty exciting. And what we received was a plaque. And this is like the holy grail in the YouTube world. This is the 100,000 subscriber play button. Major milestone. And I guess there's some other benefits that go along with that. We get a dedicated rep now or something at YouTube, someone that you can actually talk to. You don't have to, chat, do live chat or email. But this is quite an accomplishment. It's going to hang in our, whoops, the reflection is catching us there. This is going to hang in our social media department. And the next goal, by the way, is the 1 million subscriber play button, which is gold. This we think is platinum. I'm sure it's not solid, but
Well, it's supposed to be silver, pure silver.
Pure silver, all right. And then we get the gold at 1 million. Now, when do you get the platinum, the real platinum?
Well, there are ones actually past the 1 million, but it's not platinum. You get like ruby if you get to 50 million, I think.
Okay.
Or you get, there's one for 100 million, 150 million, so.
Yeah, there's a gemstone involved in there, too. But anyway, we're proud of this. We want to thank you, all our subscribers, for helping us attain this goal, because it's really you guys supporting our channel and subscribing and with the likes and watching the videos that are generating things like this. And our team is very pleased to share this with you. All right, so that's our play button.
We have Facebook. Muhammad Abbas has joined us this morning as well. Good morning, Muhammad. He says, such an excellent, informative podcast. Love how we're on all the different platforms and how we've had the chance to be able to really grow and take off with this.
So the picture behind us, we use a lot of artificial intelligence here, and not just for images, text. The salespeople are using it. We are integrating artificial intelligence into our businesses, and it's because it saves time. It makes us more efficient. It does a better job of generating even email responses at times.
Yeah.
So the image behind us is a chrome Tesla Roadster on the tundra with reflections of the scenery in the car. And it was, I think it's a beautiful colored vehicle. Again, if you're looking for perfection, you're not going to find that yet with AI. It's still struggling with what is a Tesla Roadster really about? Do you guys see a charge port door, for example?
Not only do I not see a charge port door, one thing that seems to be missing here, do you see the driver's seat?
No, you're right. Well, this is probably a Euro. No, it can't be because the wheel's on the driver's side.
Yeah, you have the left-hand wheel and no driver's seat. So, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. At first glance, it's unmistakably an attempt at a Tesla Roadster.
Now, the thumbnail view, by the way, we should have put this up as a background. I didn't think of it, has a different type of image, and it's one of a Roadster with a cutaway view showing what AI thinks the battery looks like in a Roadster. So if you're interested or curious, take a look at the thumbnail, and you'll see some interesting variations there as well.
That definitely will be.
Yeah. In fact, Jesse, if you want to bring that up as a background, the thumbnail JPEG is in the main folder, and that might be more relevant.
I'm looking for it. It's not in there. I'm trying to see it. I see the thumbnail JPEG, but it has all the words in it. I don't see just the image.
Yeah, you can put the words in there because I think it's the only image. It's on
so
my.
You don't have just the image itself? Okay.
No, not on the network. So anyway, one of the first things that after he brings up the image, by the way, here. We have a Orphan Roadster that popped up on some of the Facebook sites. And it originally, we were notified about this in the last Roadster podcast. Somebody said, there's a twilight blue Tesla Roadster. Oh, by the way, there's that picture I'm talking about. That's where AI believes the batteries are in a Roadster. There's even some underneath the floorboard, if you notice.
Well, yeah, underneath the floorboard, and whoever sits behind the passenger seat in that particular Roadster better be pretty small.
That's right, yeah. Or flat, yeah.
Yes.
There we go. And this will become much more relevant once we get into a later topic here regarding the ESS 3.0 pack replacements. Got some good news for you. So, image we want to throw up here, Jesse, is the Roadster Weeds. And so this viewer said, I live in San Francisco. There's a car on one of the streets in San Francisco that's got a Roadster parked in the street with weeds growing out of the wheels. So it's obviously been there a long time. So I posted this out on Facebook, and I said, there's probably a brewing backstory that's going to evolve with this one. And sure enough, Tom Greiner, who is one of the Roadster historians on the planet. There are actually a couple of guys, Thomas West and Tom Greiner, and then us, of course, with the registry system. He immediately posted and said, oh, that's VIN number 180. He gave us the original owner's initials, which don't mean anything to us, but it turns out that this is a real car. And we don't know whether it's still there or not because there's been a lot of interest in this car recently. People are looking for bargains with Roadsters. But as you can see, this car definitely needs some TLC. And hopefully somebody will be able to contact the owner. There are solutions for this. If you've got a brick Roadster, Tesla will sell you a 3.0 battery pack. If the service plug was pulled, we'll fix it. We'll get it running. We'll get the legacy pack running. It depends on how long it's been sitting there. What would you say with the weeds in terms of timeline?
Oh, that's got to have been sitting there for a couple of years at least.
I'm
thinking a couple of years, yeah, because the weeds there are not just coming right up from underneath the wheel in all likelihood. They probably had to come from over by the sidewalk, grow across the width of the car, and then come up into the wheel well and grow up the wheel well.
Good point, because there's no soil underneath that
There'll be no
wheel.
soil underneath that wheel, but you see a lot of moisture up under there. So it could be that it's close to a storm drain where there's a place for a little bit of soil, mud, leaves, something like that to get caught, and then a plant to start growing.
You know, somebody correctly pointed out that the city of San Francisco would not allow a car to sit there like this. They would tag it and eventually tow it. So somehow this car was able to survive on what looks like a street, a city street, for a long period of time.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. We've got some people chiming in. Niels is with us again from Denmark. He says it's a convertible too. Yes, they are. There's a soft top, a hard top, and I prefer driving mine as a convertible, actually.
Yeah, well, and this particular one, I'm not sure that you'd have room for a soft top in this particular picture.
Right.
Then we have on TikTok, Rim Magic says, I would love to speak with someone about possible sponsorship.
Sponsorship for repairs of vehicles or internship to work at a place to learn about vehicles.
Or if
Tell us
it's-
a bit more.
Or, send us more information, ev@gruber.com.
For social media too, if you're talking about like a video sponsorship, you can send something to social@gruber.com too.
Yeah,
Yep. Good point.
either one would work.
Instagram, Shafi2626 says, hello, thanks for joining us. Greetings. Instagram, ABZZ90 says, hey, people.
Hey there. And then Niels on YouTube says, in regards to that picture, it's a very steep. Is it Lombard Street? Niels, there are actually several streets that are in that really hilly section of San Francisco. Don't know if it's Lombard Street or not.
Mm-hmm. We've got another image to pop up here, guys. It's called Rex's Roadster. And this is a Roadster that was posted, or a picture of a Roadster, along with a Cybertruck. And the owner of this car is actually a Tesla manager, so he's probably got access to that Cybertruck that we might not have.
Probably does.
But the instant I saw this image, I recognized it. This was a car that came through here that was sold on Barrett-Jackson about 3 years ago, I think, maybe even 4. And it was a celebrity-owned car. It belonged to Dana Brunetti, a movie producer who has excellent taste. He actually upgraded the car to the white wheels, which to this day is now my favorite combination with a glacier blue Roadster, and the decals, of course, to match, also in white. What people pointed out with this picture, my God, we had no idea that the Roadster was so big or the Cybertruck was so small. And it's about perspective.
Yeah.
Because people then began to post other pictures of a Roadster sitting next to a Cybertruck, and you can see that it's pretty small compared to that Cybertruck.
Yeah, this one definitely is a perspective thing. It looks like the Roadster's only a couple inches shorter on both the front and back, but if you just, in looking at the perspective, you realize that Roadster is behind the front of the front wheel, and the back of the Roadster is about even with the back wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely going to be quite a bit smaller than the Cybertruck.
Yeah. And as the owner, Rex, pointed out, he said, one car started the EV revolution. The other is changing the way we look at pickup trucks. How true.
Yeah.
Both, he says, are historic cars. Both will be remembered as game changers. Actually, all of ours are game changers. He works for Tesla, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing, Rex. We appreciate it. And he did mention that if he can find some other pictures taken at this time with that Cybertruck, he's going to post those as well.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Right.
I still very much would like to see a Cybertruck live. Just somebody driving it down the road. Haven't seen that yet.
A bit more about the first owner of that Tesla Roadster, by the way. Dana Brunetti was nominated for 2 Academy Awards for producing The Social Network and Captain Phillips, and 5 Emmy Awards for producing the Netflix series House of Cards.
Oh, wow.
His artistic influence is visible in the upgrades of this glacier blue Roadster. And again, adding some of the design, the logo, and the wheels, it became a real head-turner Tesla. And I know Rex is enjoying his car up in the Bay Area. All right. So we have another news item here. Let's see. We might as well go down to the picture of VIN number 1184, guys. There's currently a Arctic white Tesla Roadster out on Bring a Trailer. And it is, I'm going to get my picture up here as well. There we go. As of this morning, the bid jumped from $70,000, and there are 2 days left to go, I think 2 or 3, jumped to $85,000. And there was some discussion about this car. It is a R80 upgrade or a 3.0 upgrade, but the first generation version from 2016. And someone chimed in on this auction and said, keep in mind that there have been multiple reports of the 2016 R80 upgrade having issues. Although the amount of people who this impacted is reasonably low, the amount of people that receive this upgrade is also low. Well, I did some research. We have the Tesla Roadster Census program out on our website, and this is a chance for anybody that owns a Roadster to register their car. We won't post personal information, your name, phone number, email, address, anything like that, but city, state, where the car resides or what country, and then, of course, what the color is and what year and what style and what type of battery it has in it.
Right.
And according to our census program, the 2016 version upgrades, there are 39 accounted for on our census program. Now remember, not all owners have registered their cars, so that 39 is actually a larger sum. We don't know precisely how many. Right.
For example, VIN 180, which we saw the picture of with the weeds growing through it, is not registered on our census program.
Right.
Here in the States.
Right.
There are duplicate VIN numbers for these Roadsters. And so some VIN numbers from Europe match VIN numbers here in the U.S.
So I contacted the owner of this car, and there was some, I guess, some misinformation about the state of a 2016 battery pack. And we're very close to that because we're actually the people that discovered what the problem was with the 2016 packs. They were anemic. They lost power. And a lot of people are scratching their heads. What's going on? Is it the PEM? Is it the, what's causing this?
Right.
It turns out that there was extensive engineering work done by our company to determine that we have a cell problem with these 2016 packs. And Mark was actually leading the engineering charge on this one.
Yeah, I led the team on this one. We found that it was the likely culprit, and we won't know unless we disassemble both the pack and some of the cells in the pack, 100% sure, but we're reasonably assured that the culprit is that there is a manufacturing problem with the cells in these packs. And the end result is that the packs lose power over time to get to the point that, we've had the reports of somebody who lives up in the Malibu Hills that can't drive their Roadster up the hill to their house anymore because it doesn't have enough power.
Can't get home. And we have a 1,000-mile Roadster in-house that has a 2016 pack. And it's also manifesting some of this anemic performance, which indicates that the problem is not use, it's age as these cells are aging. And this particular car, although it still drives, and I probably would get up the hills in the Malibu Hills, the typical symptom that an owner with a 2016 pack sees these days is a loss of power, punch, when you floor the accelerator. Now, some people may not have noticed it yet because not everybody mashes their accelerator every chance they get.
Right. And some people, we've talked about this being like the boiling frog syndrome. They don't realize that their car is getting less and less powerful or has less and less acceleration because it's happening so gradually.
Yeah.
And it's not until they get into somebody else's Roadster or until they try to drive up the hill to the home and then realize they suddenly can't that they begin to say, hey, something's not quite right here.
Yeah. There's a second component in the Tesla Roadsters that fits in that same category, and that's suspension. It's such a subtle, gradual change. You don't realize your Roadster is driving like a dump truck until you get into one that's had a suspension upgrade, or you can get another new one, which of course isn't possible. But it has been our experience with not just the cars that have come through our service center, the 2016 cars, but with a number of owners that have called us beginning to suspect there's something wrong. We have found no 2016 vehicle yet that does not have some indication of this decline in the battery pack.
Right.
And we'd certainly love to hear from anybody that that does have a car that is not affected. Now, bear in mind, one of the telltale signs is squishy pedal feel. Top speed is reduced. The freeway, on-ramp type jaunts that you're used to doing won't be quite as dramatic as you were able to do before. Eventually, they start driving like an ice car. And we have one right now that the top speed now is no longer 70 miles an hour. It's something less. So he can't take it on the freeway anymore because nobody's doing, 65, 70 anymore.
Not here in Phoenix.
Yeah. So that is the backstory on a 2016 battery pack. This particular car has that. The owner posted a video saying, look at the acceleration. And the thing to look for is, look at the kW meter on the right in the video. The kW meter on a healthy Roadster is going to peg down to 200 kW and basically remain there. These affected cars won't quite reach 200, 190, 185, 170. And then they begin to taper off and go back toward, a lower rating. And that's how you can tell that you've got a 2016 pack. Now, the basis of this podcast, and we said we've got good news. There is good news.
Yes.
We've been working with Tesla. We've been working with owners. We've been, gently suggesting that Tesla takes care of this. We have our first example of a replacement that is being done by Tesla for one of these owners that has an anemic battery pack. And Tesla has not formally announced anything at this point, but I think that that is going to set the precedent and that we're going to see some assistance from Tesla.
Yeah, right now, all that we know is the testimony of the one person who has gone to Tesla and said, guess what? They're a customer of ours, and they came back to us to say, guess what? I'm getting my battery pack replaced, and I'm not paying for it. That's great news to us. We don't know the entire picture of the entire situation, but we're very hopeful.
And of course, again, I'm very proud of Tesla for taking this position, for doing the right thing. And, it's going to cost some money. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And at this point, we don't know precisely how many there are out there. We know we've accounted for 39 of them.
Yep. So
we'll see how this plays out. But anyway, that is great news. It looks like those that are suffering with that problem may have some reprieve. We have another image that we can throw up here. Is Jesse back there, or is he? Yeah, there he is. I see his legs. If we can throw up VIN number 192. And what we have here is an insane green Roadster. This is a vehicle that was very limited production run on this color. In fact, in the United States, there is only one that is available, or that was released in the U.S., and it's VIN number 100. It originally went to the Fresh and Easy owner, the CEO of Fresh and Easy, and he had the Fresh and Easy logo on the side, and then it got sold on eBay, of all places.
Wow.
For next to nothing. Cars used to sell for $40,000, $50,000, somewhere in there. Yeah. And I don't think anybody realized that this was a very unusual color. There are more in Europe, and I believe it's 5 or 6. Maybe someone can chime in and give us the exact count in Europe. But this is a color that is distinctly different than the other greens. You have your British racing green, which is a dark hunter type green.
Right.
Then you have your lightning green, which was only released in 2011. We happen to have the other variations of colors next to each other at one point in time in our service center, and you can see a distinct difference between the lightning green, which is a very bright green actually, normally. Next to this car, it makes it just pale in significance.
I love this color. This is just, it's such a cool color of car. And had seen a couple months ago an Audi e-tron in the southern portion of Phoenix on a Saturday morning, driving down the freeway, and it looked almost like this car right here. It's the same color of insane green with and it had the black tires as well, the black wheels and tire set.
In fact, there are a couple of owners that like this color so much, they actually had their Roadsters wrapped in this color in the U.S. So,
okay.
but as far as a factory issue paint job, only one, VIN number 100. And here's your chance to pick up VIN 192. Not only does it have a very unusual, rare color, it's a signature 250 car. It's fairly low mileage at 22,500 kilometers. What is that in mileage? You do that kind of math in your head? Oh, he's going to look it up.
I'm gonna look that one up. It's probably around 15,000 miles or so.
So not bad. The battery CAC is 144. The range is 137 miles, and it is a sport version to boot. So, and I'm trying to remember if VIN 100 was a sport version. I don't remember off the top of my head. Yeah. So, but anyway, this is a Roadster that's currently available. It also sports a visible carbon fiber hardtop and an extra set of wheels. So you get silver wheels and black wheels. It is in Switzerland, and it is available for sale. My suggestion when I sent out the alert to the now 439 pre-qualified Roadster buyers, I said, guys, those of you that have been patiently waiting for an insane green to pop up, here it is. It probably won't last long because there are a number of people that have been looking. The price may be higher than what Roadsters are currently selling for, but this is your chance to take this off the market and actually own a car like this. The other thing I liked about this, if you go to the listing, the color of the seats in that saddle light tan combination is a great color with this insane green.
Ah.
I'll tell you a funny story, too. When I had VIN 100 here, we did a battery recovery on it and got it running again, and then some upgrades to the PEM and the things that we normally do. And then we go into test drive mode. And I noticed that with the Roadsters I normally drive, the Radiant Reds, I mean, you get some looks here and there. This car almost stopped traffic no matter where I went. So I decided to have some fun. I went out to the Scottsdale Lamborghini dealer, and this is very close to some Lamborghini colors. And I parked out in front there, and of course, they've got big glass windows, showing who's in the parking lot. And within 5 minutes, I cleared the sales floor. All of the salespeople came out, and they were, buzzing around the car, asking questions, and what is this? And, it definitely is an attention getter if you like that sort of thing. And, people that buy sports cars, that's typically why they buy them. They want some attention.
They want some attention. And you got to admit, getting all the Lamborghini guys to come out, that's some attention.
It was, yes. TikTok, Sazzy Time says, great, good news regarding this.
Regarding the batteries,
yeah. Tesla taking some responsibility for these first generation R80 packs or 3.0 packs.
And then on YouTube, Highlander joins us again, and welcome back. It says, converting an old Fiat convertible into electric based on a Roadster. Might need a little technical help from my friends. It's a great exercise for the nieces. The girls are 2 to 13 years of age, and they're total tomboys.
Yeah, you're going to need that.
Wow. Tagging, weighing, and documenting everything. It's a high-end old Fiat. What a cool project. Wow, that is just absolutely cool.
Yeah, and there are some products popping up now, aftermarket conversion kits that make this kind of a process simpler. In the old days, you had to have an EE type degree, a double E degree, and you had to know a lot about electronics and firmware and software and CAN signals and all, to be able to do something like this. But it's getting better.
I remember it's several podcasts ago, a few months ago, we were talking about a little VW conversion kit. You pay $4,000 for it. It includes includes the battery, the infrastructure, the powertrain, everything. And you just pull out that rear air-cooled little engine from a VW, and you drop in the electric motor instead, and you go from 65 horse in the engine.
Yeah, the original.
In the original, up to about 100 horsepower, and then the battery would largely sit in the back seat. But it was, you got 80, 90 miles of range out of that thing.
Yeah. Well, there's one that you can answer, Mark. YouTube Yogi Bear.
Yeah, Yogi Bear YouTube, he says, is it possible to find a used one for sale, and how much do they go for? Well, it is possible to find used Roadsters for sale. Go to the Gruber Motors site, and we have on the Gruber Motors site our listings for Roadsters. Roadsters for sale. Jesse, thank you for bringing that up. And you can see what kind of asking prices are out there. We are a matchmaking site, though. I know you and I both have enjoyed the Tinder comment. We're Tinder for Roadsters. We bring buyers and sellers together. You guys talk it through, figure out what you want to pay for your Roadster, and it's your transaction completely. Our job is simply to help bring the buyers and sellers together.
And Jesse, I just realized we have a cache problem because the site that you brought up, you probably weren't logged in, and that new insane green Roadster doesn't show up. So we've got to clear cache on that page. And then the first car will be this insane green car.
Yes, and so, but that's if you want to get into a Roadster, that's, I think, probably the best way to do it. There are other auction sites, places like Bring a Trailer, that will sell Roadsters on occasion. You've got that layer in between yourself as a buyer and the seller, and so it's not something that I recommend as highly as our site.
And Bring a Trailer, by the way, has been doing about one per week lately, and they are selling.
That's remarkable.
But they're low, $70,000-$80,000 for a Tesla Roadster, functioning Roadster.
So you might get a better deal than you would on our site. Maybe not, but you, as a buyer, you're still going to pay the 10 to 15% buyer fees and
actually
stuff like that.
That's the buyer that pays that. The sellers, I think, is much lower, $100, $200 or something.
Sellers will put it up, and whether it sells or not, they pay their small fee. The buyers pay a percentage of the vehicle price. Usually, it's somewhere between 5 and 10%.
The difference between us and the auctions is with the auctions, you have an expiration date, which of course oftentimes helps the buyer because, if people didn't see it, didn't watch for it, they might have missed it. The advantage with our site is you get to talk to the seller. You get to get the backstory. You get to hear why they're selling it, how long they've had it, what accessories come with it, or descriptions of those, what kind of maintenance it's had. So you get a much lengthier backstory, and there's no expiration date. There they are. That's okay. We've got our cache problem solved.
Insane green.
So it's much gentler. There's much more time, and you get to negotiate directly with the sellers. And we may be a slower sale, at least at this point. We used to be faster than Bring a Trailer, but once the dumping, there's a Roadster dumping going on right now, and let's be clear about that. Don't know what all the reasons are, but some of them are, there's a $45,000 battery pack replacement, which has spooked some of the owners. It used to be $30,000, and even that was kind of difficult to swallow. And then we have aging owners. Some of them had hip surgeries, back surgeries. Sometimes the widows are selling the cars. It's sad, but that's what's happening right now. And there is the supply and demand equation is way in favor of supply, which of course makes it a buyer's market.
Definitely does. Some of the other things that we'll provide along with the Connect Buyers to Seller service, because we actually do provide a few things. No charge to the buyer or seller, by the way. It's a service we provide to the community. We'll help you set up transport for your car. We are experts at that. It's something that we're doing all the time. So why have you go through the pain of figuring it out, getting a quote that's too high and not knowing? We'll help you get that done. We provide even an escrow service where we'll take in the title from the seller and the funds from the buyer. Once everything is settled, we then send the title to the buyer and funds to the seller.
And we can't reiterate that word often enough. Free, 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 free. We don't charge for anything. Why do we do it? Because we're committed to the Roadster community, because we feel a part of it. And we are not charging for any of these services. Whereas the auction houses, they're for-profit businesses. They have to charge. So we understand that.
Yeah, we totally understand that. So on YouTube, Highlander says, this is a total backyard garage DIY, no kids.
Oh, well, my hat's off to you then. There's some challenges there.
Some challenges, a lot of fun. Man, working with the nieces like that would be just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then on YouTube, Yogi Bear says, want to put like a Prius motor in an old Honda 500. That would be interesting to see.
Yeah. So I've got another picture here, Jesse, if you can throw up suspension. Mike Manning, one of our suspension experts, actually, at Gruber Motor Company, posted this morning. He's got some pictures here of a Thunder Gray Tesla Roadster, which needed suspension upgrades, shocks and ball joints and tie rods, the whole 9 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the customer, looked at the parts that were coming out, the control arms, for example, and rusted, beat up, and he wanted those to match the color of his Thunder Gray Roadster. So he said, well, your strongest option there is if we powder coat, it's going to eliminate the rusting in the future, and things will look pretty spiffy and new under there for a long time. So we ended up doing powder coating on a number of the suspension components here, and there's some pictures of it. If you're interested, there are some more pictures posted on our Facebook site, which is the Tesla Roadster Owners Group. And there you can see some more of the pictures. Most people don't care what's under the underbelly of their Roadster.
Right.
But this particular customer did, and my hat's off to him. This was a great experiment for us and for him. And
well, for the real collectors of these cars, the ones they're going to understand the value of doing something extra like this.
Mm-hmm. Yep, this kind of detail. So we've got another image we can throw up here. This is the Rivian tow. We have a customer in SoCal that that needed to come to our service center. Initially, we were looking to get transporters, and then he decided, you know what, I'm headed out to Phoenix anyway. I've got a Rivian R1T pickup truck, got a tow hitch on it. I think I'll just bring out the Roadster myself. So he did, and he said that while on the I-10, he got an enormous amount of attention. Now you've got two EVs towing, right?
Oh, yes, I'm sure.
So we ended up, we were tracking where he was. And just before he got here, we posted a video or started the video. And it turns out that the colors are very similar. There's a glacier blue behind that, what looks like a glacier blue Rivian truck. But as he pulled into our service center parking lot, he says, Pete, come here and look at this speedometer. He was literally down to 0 miles.
Oh, my gosh.
And we have the ability to charge at the service center, of course, but in our building C, in the other commercial buildings, we have charging stations. Are there 4 of them or 2 of them?
4 of them.
4 of them, okay. And they happen to be J1772 as well, so we didn't need an adapter. Most of the things we do at Gruber Motor Company is the NACS standard.
Yes.
Tesla NACS or the Roadster connectors. So he had enough juice to drive that 600 feet or so over to our other commercial buildings, and he was able to get enough of a charge to keep himself going.
Oh man, one time we had that. My wife called me and she said, the Kia has these 2 lines on it. It doesn't even show miles.
Wow.
Am I okay to get home? I'm like, no, depends on how far you are, but no. And she said, well, I'm at 51st Avenue on the 101. I said, oh, not a chance. We were living in Peoria at the time.
Right.
So that's 5 miles away. You need to pull over now. See if you can get into the grocery store parking lot, because I think that Fry's actually has a blink charger. Mm-hmm. And so go pull over. There's some restaurants there, and get a snack, get a bite to eat or something. And she did, and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law and her all got something. But sometimes that happens with these cars.
Yeah. Range anxiety, it was definitely a huge factor initially when these cars came out. Nowadays, I guess it's a bit easier.
It definitely is. The Kia Soul at the time had a 90-mile range, and so when we upgraded it, we got a car that had 230 miles.
Mhm.
And that's one of the main reasons, is because I didn't want to ever have my wife calling me out in the middle of somewhere or nowhere
Mhm.
saying, I have no miles left.
Very true. Very true. All right. It looks like we've got no new questions there. Another news item that I have for the Roadster owners. We work very closely with the Tesla Arizona Service Center, and they've been wonderful replacing batteries, you know, the 3.0 batteries. Not every Tesla Roadster that makes it to our service center is a candidate for recovery. And we can usually tell up front whether that's the case or not, because we get log files, we find out how long it's been bricked, what are the states of the bricks, the individual bricks, what are the voltage levels, and then we can decide whether it's a recovery candidate. But what we're finding these days is, and this is a process that has worked out well for the customers, is to ship their Roadster here if it is hard bricked. And the main reason for that is working with the Tesla Service Center locally here, we can get your car into queue so that you can get that battery replaced. And while it is waiting, we will take care of all the deferred maintenance in that Tesla Roadster. And these days, these are 15-year-old cars now, 16 actually.
Guys working on 16 years old on most of them, yeah.
There is deferred maintenance, and it's advantageous to synchronize your upgrades across the car. You put in a brand new battery, but you haven't done anything about the PEM. You haven't done anything about the suspension components. All those things are going to need to be done at some point or now. If you continue to drive your car, especially for the lifespan of these new battery packs.
Right.
So this is an opportune time while the car is here waiting for the Tesla Service Center to get in for its battery replacement. We'll take care of all that deferred maintenance. Our guys are very good at going through the car with a fine-tooth comb, pointing out all of the things that are aging. We're even at this point beginning to look at the plumbing, the rubber hoses that are in the car. There are a number of them on the ESS battery pack, for example. And those things, are going to continue to deteriorate. So we'll give you a list of items that we recommend. We'll also prioritize if there's a budget that you're working with. And it's a great way to end up with a car that's been completely rebuilt with a fresh battery pack and all of the other things in the car that need to be upgraded.
Well, right. I mean, it's like a lot of people don't realize that the power electronics module, which doesn't have in a traditional sense moving parts, actually has wear items as well. Those IGBTs and capacitors do degrade over time. And if one of those fails, it is typically a very bad, although very spectacular type of failure. And you could cause a lot of damage to the internal electrical components if you let your PEM get all the way to failure. What is it? Once every 8 to 10 years, I think, is all that you need to have a real PEM rebuild. What a perfect time to do that. Have it rebuilt. It's part of the powertrain. You take care of that. You take care of the battery. For an ICE vehicle, that is the equivalent of an engine and transmission overhaul.
Right, exactly. You know, for a lot of these owners, if they plan to keep their car, that's a wise way to proceed. Looks like we've got a question from TikTok.
Yeah, on TikTok, Joshua Probst is asking a question. He says, what's the mileage on a full charge doing 75 to 80? Unroll, dead, what's the charge time?
Well...
So I think there's a couple questions here.
Yeah, we need to unpack that a bit.
What's the mileage on a full charge if you're doing 75 to 80 miles an hour? I'm going to interpret this to say that. And then what would be the charge time to go from basically 0% charge up to a full charge on your Roadster?
Okay, well, the range that you're going to get out of a Tesla Roadster that's been fully charged has a number of variables: headwind, elevation changes, top speed. You'll definitely use more electrons at 75 to 80 than you would at 30. However, if it's stop and go, you're probably better off at the higher speeds.
Right. So
it's difficult to project because of the number of variables involved there. The charge time. If you're charging with the standard 15 amp yellow charge cable that plugs into a 120 volt outlet, you can be as much as 30 plus hours to get a full charge again with that cable.
Yeah, those are probably what, the 3 to 4 mile per hour charge rates, right?
Even less than that.
Even less than that sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have, of course, other charging methods. You may have your MC240, which is the 240 volt cable that plugs into the equivalent of a dryer plug. It's a 6-50 plug, which is a 240 volt 50 amp plug, straight blade. Mm-hmm. There you can get a charge within 3 to 5 hours, full charge. And then you have your Clipper Creek wall chargers, which can charge at 70 amps. The MC240 is 40 amps. The first one is 15 amps, 40 amps, and then 70 amps. And there you're probably talking under 2 hours. So it depends on what kind of a charge method you're using and where you started.
I could see somebody wanting to get one of those Clipper Creek chargers and put the NACS plug on it to charge their Tesla, their standard Tesla.
You know, you can't, because the charge cables available with the molded NACS plug is only good for 40 amps.
Ah, okay, okay.
We did that originally with our Clipper Creeks because we had lots of them in the old service center.
Yes.
And we had dual cables. We had the proprietary Roadster, which is the size of a garden hose with a big connector.
Yep.
And we would parallel the NACS cables with, of course, instructions. You can only use one at a time. You can't use them both.
Sure.
But yeah, you're limited with that cable, and you have to be careful to detune your car that you're charging, because that Clipper Creek will try to pump 70 amps through that smaller cable.
Ooh.
So it heats up.
Yeah, that could really heat up that cable then.
So some news on the Roadster Tech GPT. Remember that OpenAI released the ability to create your own Chat GPT version.
I do remember that.
And we immediately it was right on the heels of Elon open sourcing all of the Tesla Roadster documentation. We fed that into our GPT version, and it is a wonderful tool. The mechanics and the engineers at Gruber Motor Company are using this actually.
Oh, fantastic.
Now we're assembling and accumulating all of our knowledge base, which years of problem resolution, symptom versus solution, is now being fed into that as well. And it's becoming a pretty powerful tool.
Yeah, we've got commented limited files in our chief engineers. He has his own repository. We have a database file, the old style DBF files, with a fairly large repository of information that's separate. Mm-hmm. And we're getting all that integrated in, correct?
Exactly, yes.
That's fantastic.
And for those of you interested in availing yourselves of this service, this again fits into the category of free. If you have a problem with your Roadster and it's not obvious, the VDS screen might be reporting an error code and you don't know what that means, feel free to call us. We provide free tech support. We provide free log file analysis. Mm-hmm. That's where you need to put a memory stick into that little USB port underneath your console, and we will analyze that for you and report back to you what's going on. Or if you have strange screens popping up on your VDS screen, we'll feed that into our GPT program, Roadster GPT program, and tell you what likely is going on with that car. In other words, a deep dive look underneath the hood.
That's... And for those people that are having trouble finding those 4 gigabyte sticks that the Roadster requires, let us know. We can either provide one to you, or we have a set of instructions on how you can convert your higher capacity stick into a 4 gig stick so that it would work.
Exactly, yes. And you were the ones that actually pioneered that with the Windows solution.
Yes. That's... It was my background is in IT and tech more than it is finance, so I thought, well, let's take a look. Let's see what happens if. And sure enough, it worked just fine.
By the way, one of the things that I didn't mention about that current Arctic White that's for sale on Bring a Trailer currently, mm-hmm. Is that as with most Arctic White Roadsters, there was some PPF applied. And this particular one also has had the PPF removed because it yellows with age.
Right.
On certain colors, you won't notice it, like the Radiant Red. It's difficult to tell whether it's yellowed because it's closer to the warmer colors. But again, it speaks to the fact that if you have PPF on your Roadster, after 8 years or so, make sure you remove that. Because what happens next is the adhesive begins to crystallize, eventually bonds with the clear coat, and then you can't get the residue off anymore. You can't get it off properly. You take off clear coat paint with the PPF removal. PPF is not for the life of the car. It's there for a few years, and the original 3M product appears to have been some of the biggest problem, from 15 years ago, for example.
Right.
First generation versions. If you remember, those Chinese Roadsters are probably the worst example of a PPF decline and degradation. It was so bad there were fissures, cracks, cloudiness, and they had bonded with the clear coat in many places.
I even remember when we were doing the deep clean to get all the the rodent waste out from the interior of the car. They did some spraying of the paint itself on the outside, and the PPF was just peeling off from nothing more than power spraying in some cases.
Yeah. And by the way, there was a comment made on one of the Facebook sites about a charge of $1,200 for pressure washing. This was not pressure washing the outside of a car to get rid of some road grime or some rain residue.
Right.
This was a deep dive pressure washing, including taking off the panels underneath the car, blowing out the suspension portions, the running boards, taking rodent nests out of there, rodent debris, rodent discharge, turds, basically.
Yeah.
And it was a multi-stage process of spraying down the top, trying to get the flaking PPF off, and lifting it up on a lift outside and spraying it underneath and getting the underbelly of the car. Times 3 cars at $1,200, we probably lost money on that one.
We probably did, because you're talking about somewhat in-depth disassembly of the car to get to the areas where the rodent nests were. Cleaning of all the car, the discomfort of the people who were cleaning that car and had all that stuff coming on them.
I don't even want to go there. There were a lot of 4-letter words being used while that process was going on.
Yes.
We had never seen Roadsters that were this declined or this dirty.
And then once everything is finally cleaned up acceptably, you have all the reassembly of the car. So that was all part of the quote unquote pressure wash. So they're very much more than just a straight pressure wash.
So just to get the record straight here.
So Highlander on YouTube has also asked, will all this information be on your website?
You know what? We don't know how we're going to disseminate this knowledge-based information yet. The struggle for any company like us is we've got years of development and intellectual property that has been assembled, collated, and put into a usable format. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of engineering time. And I can safely attest to that because we see the labor charges year after year and the salaries of the type of people, the double E's that are doing this type of work, from reverse engineering to the rest of it. It'd be very difficult for a company like us to offer that along with our other free services as a free service.
It would be, and then we take on, taking off my CFO hat and putting my legal hat on. We take on a lot of liability for all of our own personal advice that we're giving from our experience. That's over and above what Tesla has in their experience. Mm-hmm. It's we want to make sure we have that richer communication channel of somebody's talking to us. We're taking time to interpret, understand clearly and completely what it is they're saying. Then we feed that into the GPT program and we can let them know information. Yeah. And then we also can have them confirm it. So there's clarity in the communication process. Somebody is not misinterpreting something that has been said in the GPT because they simply don't understand some of the terms.
Sure. And if anything, I don't think we can make this as part of our other free services, the many other free services. But if it becomes a subscription-based service, then we will have disclaimers.
Yes.
That will, of course, address some of these issues. Use at your own risk. In fact, even when Elon, disseminated this, he had caveats. he had disclaimers. He said things like, some of this was prototype version data.
Yeah.
And if you find that it's not relevant or it's not successful, we're not to blame, basically.
Yeah, not relevant, not successful, or not correct.
Yeah.
If it doesn't reflect what you're saying, well, it's because it's prototype data. It's not on us. It's on you to use it and buyer beware, as it were.
Right. Well, to recap here, we wanted to make sure that everybody understood that Tesla, again, is doing the right thing with the service that they're providing for this 3.0 battery upgrade, the 2016 battery upgrade. We don't have many details yet. There has been no official statement made. All we know at this point is that one customer did receive a free replacement battery pack.
Mm-hmm.
So how that will translate into other owners is yet to be seen. But again, I'm very proud of Tesla for doing it this way. I also want to bring Richard over.
I was going to say, we are running out of time here.
Richard is going on to a different job. He's part of our social media team. He was there almost since day one. And we'd like to allow him to talk to you about what he's doing and where he's going. And let's move this.
No, I can hold that.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. You were in this along with us. What he's holding there, we already talked about. That.
Yeah, the YouTube plaque.
Yes.
But thank you guys. Yeah, so I'm going to be moving on to another job doing relatively similar things. It is an addiction treatment center called Soul Surgery. I'll be running basically their entire social media marketing, doing YouTube videos, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all that good stuff, and podcasts and whatnot. But yeah, so I'm excited to go with, it's definitely a place where I'm going to be able to grow, since it's going to be, I have to learn everything at this point. And I'm excited for it, but I wouldn't have been able to even consider something like this unless I had first started here. So.
And Richard has a rich history here, by the way. He was one of the first podcast guests that used to sit up here with me. He's been instrumental in our social media team. He has become a first-class editor. Many of the videos that you see, the B-rolls that are inserted, that's Richard's gift, along with other team members now that are evolving into this. This whole social media thing is fairly new. It's not like you can go to college and get a degree in social media and come out competent. A lot of this is OJT, and Richard has proven that you learn a lot doing this type of work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a crash course for sure. There are courses and whatnot that you can take here and there on different, very isolated subjects, but as you say, like almost every other week, sometimes we just don't know. What does and doesn't work. So I don't know, it's been a really, really good experience. So
we don't know who's going to take over the infomercials for these sunglass cases, but it looks like Cass was piping up in the last podcast, and there may be a Cass involvement in this in the future. Richard, again, thank you for joining us and being such a great contributor all this time, and they're all going to miss you.
Yeah. Likewise, I'm going to miss the audience as well.
All right, that brings to a close this Tesla Roadster podcast. As always, we enjoy having you guys join us. And as you saw, if you were here earlier, we have our YouTube trophy finally. It is a plaque that identifies us as having 100,000 plus subscribers. Let me show it to you again, since some of them may have come in late.
That's something for us to, us to be proud of, and us to be very thankful for all the people who've listened to us and subscribed.
And you to be proud of, because it was really our audience, our subscribers, the people that have faith in us, that come and join and, participate, that really created this. The next one, by the way, this is the 100,000 one, is going to be the 1 million subscriber one, and that is gold. And we're hoping that it's solid gold, because we're going to work very hard to get there.
That's right. So take care, everybody. We've got tomorrow is the AI podcast, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Friday is the Power Hour. Mondays is the Communication Products Wired Hour podcast. And then the next Tuesday, you'll see us here, all at 10 a.m. Mountain Time.
Enjoy your Roadsters. We'll see you next week.
Take care.